Hey, chestnuts. Howdy there. So we have a game played by. We're gonna be looking at Aaron Nimzowitsch versus Jose Raul Capablanca today, and this is a pretty famous game. So yeah, let's see. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we have e4, c6, d4, d5, e5, bishop to f5, then bishop to d3, which is a line in the. So we have the advanced variation, right? When this when these pawns advance, this pawn advances, and usually you don't see this d3 move that often anymore. Usually you see knight to c3 or maybe even knight to f3 and then bishop to e2, or if you're tall you can play h4. But yeah, but okay, so bishop d3 was played, bishop takes d3, queen takes, and we have e6, knight c3 here. You can also have knight to d2 and still have the c4 idea, so that's one move. But knight to c3, queen to b6, knight g to e2, c5, d takes, bishop takes, castle, knight to e7, and then we have knight to a4, forking these two. An interesting line would be b4 and then queen takes, rook to b1, queen to a5, rook takes b7, and castle. So white has this pressure here. And yeah, although it kind of messes up the queenside structure a little bit. Okay, so knight to a4, queen c6, knight takes c5, queen takes c5, bishop to e3, queen c7, targeting this pawn, f4, reinforcing the center, knight to f5, there's that juicy square here, attacking this bishop, c3, knight to c6, rook to a d1, g6, and g4, which creates a weakness. Perhaps bishop f2 would have been pretty good, and try to remaneuver and not really play here for this king side. Let's see what kind of problems this creates later on. So we have g4, knight takes e3, queen takes, and then we have h5. And here you can't really capture because after this captures, we have this maneuver, right? This rook can attack this king. What Capablanca could do would be interesting, would be castle queenside, which is also pretty viable. Just put these rooks here. But yeah, so that wasn't played. h5, g5, castle, knight to d4, queen to b6, rook to f2. And now black slowly starts to gain small advantages, right? What Capablanca and Karpov are known for, this kind of stuff. Rook to f to c8, a3, rook to c7, rook to d3, knight to a5. So this c4 square becomes super important, and it's super weak square. And it's not like a white can play something like b3 in order to protect it, because you'll be weakening these pawns too much. So Capablanca really makes use of this square. If knight takes d4, then rook takes. All right. So knight to a5, rook to e2, rook to e8. So just remaneuvering. You can also play knight to c4. This is an interesting idea here, right? Okay. King to g2, knight to c6, rook e to d2, rook e to c8, rook to e2, knight to e7, rook e to d2. So here you can already even see that white can't even do much, right? He's in a bind already. He's pretty much stuck while Capablanca's like, I'm gonna figure this out, baby. Okay. You can't even play something like b4 because you'll be weakening too many of these pawns, right? Creating too many holes there. All right, so rook to c4, queen to h3, king to g7, rook to f2, a5, rook to e2, knight to f5. And then it looks like maybe after knight takes, if you take with either of these, one of these pawns will be weakened. But let's see how Capablanca makes a very solid structure. Knight takes, g takes, and then queen to f3, and then now g6 and defending its own forces, right? Here it's a bit dangerous to take this because you're gonna give way for this rook, right? So now this g6 is here like a pawn, right? It's like control. It's like a yeah, it's cool that it's just a cool structure. This the king defending his forces like that. So all right, rook e d2, rook e4, rook d4, queen f1 is also something. Then rook c to c4 here. Then rook this rook can slide here in order to protect this square. Okay, but here we have rook d4 and then rook c4, queen to f2. If rook takes c4, then just simply rook takes c4, right? Okay, queen to f2, queen b5, king to g3, rook c takes, and then we have queen c4. So slowly but surely, Capablanca is just closing in, baby. Okay, so we have king to g2, then b5, king to g1. So just making these weird king moves. b4. You can also play queen to c1 check, have this tempo. King to g2. a4 would this is a common thing you do in endgames, right? You hold the pawns there, and yeah, if you try to advance, there's this en passant. So, and then we'd have h3, queen b1, rook e2. All right, but that didn't happen. b4, Capablanca goes for this idea instead. A takes. You can't really advance this because it'll just become a weakness. Queen c6, b3. After that, you just create this weakness, right? If you try to defend that weakness. So rook b2 to try to defend it, and then queen here, and then yeah, you're just gonna lose something. Something's gonna give, right? So a takes b4, a takes b4, king to g2, and then queen to c1, and then king to g3. Okay, so rook c2, queen to d1, b3, rook takes c4. This is also a possibility. Queen takes, and king to c2 check, and yeah, it would just be all over. So, but here king to g3, then we have queen to h1, and yeah, it's just slowly but surely getting closer. Rook to d3, looking pretty sad. Rook to e1, rook to f3, and then we have rook to d1. You can also go rook to b1, going after this weak pawn, right? But yeah, rook to d1, we have b3, rook to c1, rook to e3, and yeah. So here it was in this move, rook to f1, that white resigned, because after that, just the position is just gonna give. Well, let's see what would happen if any other moves were played. If you play rook d3, then you have this move. Rook to c3, and then now this pawn can come to life. Queen to d2, okay. Queen to f1, rook takes, pawn takes, queen takes c3, and then we have h4 check, and then yeah, queen takes, and all right, we have this mate right here. Let's say if queen to e2, rook to e1, queen to f2, rook to b1, queen to e2. Yeah, it's just white is in Zugzwang. Nothing really that white can do. Every move loses. Queen to g1 check, queen to g2, and then queen takes d4. Crazy. Just really shows Capablanca's strengths this game. Just these slow advantages, and you're just suddenly losing. What Karpov would do as well. King to h3, rook to c2 here, and if rook takes here, then queen just takes this with check, right? And you would lose this pawn. Okay, so queen to g3, h4, king takes h4. Of course not queen takes h4 because there is this mate right here, right? So king takes, rook takes h2 check, queen h3, queen takes f3, king takes h2, and then there's this mate, right? Okay, and this queen can't take this, of course, because there's this pin. All right, if now king to h4, you would get mated with rook to c2, queen takes, and if you try to to do some fancy stuff right here, instead of go back to defend your king, but even then, you just get mated, and there's not really much you can do to stop that. Like maybe give your queen. All right, so it's after this rook f1 move that white resigned, and let's see what you can. Let's see if you can see what why white would resign here. So I'll play white's next move, queen to e2, and what do you think? What do you think Capablanca would do afterwards? All right, see if you got it. Okay, so you can try queen to g1 check. Then if king goes to h3, right? If king goes here, you just simply take this pawn. So king to h3, and then rook to f2, and then queen to d3, and then there's his mate. Yeah, you would have to sacrifice your queen to stop it. So alrighty, that's the game. And sometimes I like to call this the Sharingan game, because Raymond Keane noted that Capablanca used pretty much all of Nimzowicz's own system against him, right? And Nimzowitsch is even known for Zugzwang. He has an immortal Zugzwang as well. But it's funny that Capablanca did an immortal on him with the immortal kind of immortal that Nimzowitsch is known for. So it's pretty funny. Alrighty, guys. If you like this video, you can smash that subscribe button like a clock, hit that like button like a clock, and hit that notification bell like a clock. And I'll see you, and hopefully you can see this cuddly face. Peace, guys.